The purpose of this video is to explain how to do stoichiometry calculations using the factor label method. Stoichiometry is the comparison of various different chemicals within a balanced chemical equation. We'll be using the coefficients in front of the different chemicals in order to establish relationships between them so that we can calculate if we have a particular amount of hydrogen, how much oxygen would you need to react with it. If we have a particular amount of oxygen, how much water could you produce? Or if we know how much water we need to produce, we could figure out how much hydrogen or oxygen it would take to do that. The equation we're going to use for all these problems in this video is going to be hydrogen reacting with oxygen in order to produce water. The first example I'm going to do is the simplest kind, simply converting from moles of one chemical to moles of a different chemical. The question we have here is how many moles of H2O can be produced from 5 moles of H2? So we are going to be starting with 5 moles of H2 and solving for moles of H2O. So the only two parts of our balanced equation we're going to care about is going to be H2 and H2O. Of course, oxygen would have to exist, but we have to assume that we have plenty of it and we just don't care about it. All we need to look at is the coefficient in front of H2 and the coefficient in front of H2O. So the first thing you should always do is establish what relationships you have, because those are the things you're going to use to build your problem and figure out how much of your particular answer you should have. So in this case, we have 2 moles of H2 is equal to or will produce 2 moles of H2O. By looking at this mole ratio, we can tell that however many moles of hydrogen we have, we will produce the exact same number of moles of water. When you're using a factor label calculation, you always need to write down your given as the beginning of your calculation. So in this case, we have 5.0 moles of H2. And we'll be converting that to moles of H2O. The way you organize a factor label calculation is based on the unit and the chemical that you have. The unit and chemical must be canceled out in each step. So in this instance, we have moles of H2, and we will need to look at our relationship and find the part that has moles of H2. So 2 moles of H2 over here will have to go on the bottom, so that when moles of H2 is divided by moles of H2, the unit and chemical cancel out. On top, you would put your 2 moles of H2O. And just like we said by looking at the ratio, you will have the same amount of H2O as you did of H2, because 5 times 2 divided by 2 will give you 5.0 moles of H2O.